Listen, it's ridiculous. My father's paid tens of millions of taxes. If only they spent as much time looking for maybe, I don't know, Hunter Biden's tax returns and the Biden crime family issues where Hunter's taking money from a known associate of Vladimir Putin, $3.5 million, and no one has any interest. Brian, imagine I did that. Imagine the story it would be. So the Kremlin, direct ties to Vladimir Putin, has influence over Hunter Biden. You don't think that's the collusion that they were worried about with Donald Trump? You don't think it's right there with the Biden family? And we don't even have to get into Ukraine and $1.5 billion from China. That's the difference.
Like I said, I was planning to do today about the Comey rule, but the sickos at Showtime won't put their premium content on a streaming service that's not their app, even though I subscribe to Showtime through Prime. Fucking bullshit. But it'll make more sense because like both nights of the Comey rule will be presumably able to watch by then, so we can get the whole picture of it.
I always thought it made more sense to watch the whole thing, so I think it'll work out for the best.
Are these just the first 2 episodes of a miniseries, or
there's 2 episodes overall. It's just the 2 episodes.
It's not a miniseries.
Yeah.
It's going to be an ongoing series forever. You're gonna see everyone in the FBI universe. There's going to be a spinoff. There's going to be a Bruce and Nellie Orr spinoff. Those are fan favorite characters. Nellie Orr is she's a real cut up and a real sex pot. She's sort of the Chandler of the gang.
Hang on a sec. Sorry.
I think they're going to get Yasmin Bleeth to play.
Yeah, Bruce Orr will be played by Jason Momoa. I feel sympathetic for the people that made this show because it's hard to. I mean, we'll obviously talk about it more later in the week, but it's hard to make this because no one looks like 90% of the people involved in this. It's no one in the world looks like Donald Trump. He's the only guy.
No.
The only guy who kind of does is Melania's dad, weirdly enough. But no actor looks like him.
Interesting.
Just the screen cap that Virgil shared in the chat last night of whoever they got to play Obama was
they have a 27-year-old Obama.
All right, I'm sorry about that. They're 2 sickos buzzing my ringer. I don't know who these guys are, but they look like K-pop guys.
I
don't know these people.
Well, it's probably the same people that are taking photographs of you and stalking you.
Yeah, it's called gang stalking, and it looks like you've been targeted.
See, there they go again. They're buzzing again. I don't know what they want. I don't have any K-pop for them.
Have you heard the good news about BTS?
This isn't where 17 lives. Not even one of the 17 live here. I don't know. Anyway, so I did my job, and I watched the first episode, and it ended on election night. So it seemed to me that they were going to squeeze out 6 more episodes from this, and it would keep going because a lot more shit happens to the guy after election night.
I think it'll be on tonight's episode.
I don't see how they wrap it up in 90 more minutes.
I mean, he's just going to get fired, right?
That's what happens. He gets fired.
And then he goes to pensively walk on a beach and think about Reinhold Niebuhr.
It's like the end of Equilibrium when they take him in and do the test to see if he has emotions, and then he busts out and does gun kata on everyone.
Well, I think the real resolution to the Comey rule will be in about a month's time when we vote this pretender out of office. That'll be the season finale.
Wait, what has Comey done since getting fired?
Well, he wrote a book.
But he hasn't had
based on.
But he hasn't had like a job.
No, he actually got started at TCBY recently, but they cut his hours because of COVID. he finally got
that makes sense because unless it focuses on the other people who continue to work there or Robert Mueller or something like that, like it just switches to be about the Mueller report, then there's really nothing else to say about this guy. He got shit canned and that's it.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia page and it says post-government life.
Ghost government life. Now that's what I call a promotion.
None of this shit's honest. None of this shit they tell us as kids about working hard's true. It's just because he's friends with Casper that he got into the ghost industry. It's fucking bullshit.
All it is a list of a couple of op-eds he wrote. So he has been doing jack shit.
Episode 2 is just him blogging.
Yes, just blogging his ass off.
He's taken after another great FBI agent, Fox Mulder, and spent his time sleeping on a couch and watching pornography.
I have an idea for another money-making venture for you guys, if you're interested.
Hell yeah,
All right,
always.
so
paper.
Always.
there's the liberal version of this, right? And it's this, and we're obviously gonna talk about it a lot later this week. But what about the version for people who like every day for 4 years have been like, oh, so Glenn Simpson did know Thomas Doors, huh? How about that, you bitch, Nellie Orr? And we should make the version that's like, it's for people who are like not quite insane enough for QAnon, but insane enough to waste their time doing this. And it's just like, you know, all your guys, Glenn Simpson, Nellie Orr, Bruce Orr, Lisa Page, Peter Stork, all of them. And they're like, all right, so we're going to lie about if we ever met Glenn Simpson, right? We're going to frame the most innocent president of all time. Time to commence Obamagate. and that's 6 episodes of that. And boom, $10 million opportunity. And it's going to be called Obamagate.
Apparently, there's some like, independent prosecutor who's looking into Obamagate who Q people were convinced was going to, right before the election, reveal a report that indicted Obama and everybody else in the deep state for trying to prevent Trump from being president. And they just announced that there's not going to be a report before the election.
Well, I mean, shit. It's got to be formatted correctly. Times New Roman, double space.
Well, they have leaked their key piece of evidence, a tape recording from August 2016 of Barack Obama saying, let's do Obamagate. It's time for Obamagate.
Are you feeling what Obama's cooking? It's Obamagate.
Did you see, though, that all the Q people are going insane because The Rock endorsed Joe Biden? And, you know, I think he's one of the few celebrities that is still, you know, been born as Dwayne Johnson and lived his life as an adult, you know, filming movies and TV shows and being a wrestler, who hasn't been replaced by a clone that looks identical to him or a hologram of some sort, but now he is. Now he's been executed.
Yeah, no, he's a clone.
Yeah, he's a clone.
He's a clone now.
He's been executed.
He's been executed, and yet the good guys allow his clone to go out there and endorse the pedophile baby.
I know, right? Like
odd.
it's so fucked up to me that like all these they've replaced every major politician and celebrity with a clone of themselves, because obviously the real ones have already been indicted, tried, and executed by a military tribunal in Guantanamo Bay. But it's just like the clones they've been replaced with still act and talk and like behave in the same way that that the originals did. So I don't get what the point is. What's the point here? I mean, I guess Ellen DeGeneres has been tried, executed, and convicted. But, you know, when she came back for the new season of her show, she was like, hey, I'm sorry, I was a bitch to everyone. So, I mean, that's an example of like the clone has like been a reformed version of the original. You know, so there's some improvement there.
Seen the celebrity tabloids in the supermarket checkout aisle lately? You know, like Star Magazine and all that stuff. All the headlines are just, he's a clone now. Tom Hanks in hologram heaven.
That is the reason that they're nominating Barrett, is she has more originalist views on clone law. Most clone law was written by activist judges who say that the clone isn't quite the person it was a clone of, and that they can't be blamed for all the child sacrifice rituals that the original person did. But Amy Barrett actually thinks that the clone and the original can be charged with the same crime.
I can't wait for her to finally overturn the precedent on whether having sex with your clone is gay.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
it's Amy Coney not.
Amy Coney Barrett understands that.
It is morally and legally the exact same thing as jacking off.
Yes.
No, it's no. That's an originalist view. It's queer.
Yeah, I'm trying to have a fucking three-way with my clone. They've technically never had sex, but they're clones of me, so they're pretty fucking good at sex.
I mean, I love the QAnon cosmology about like how every famous person has been executed, but who you're seeing on TV is a perfect clone of them that's seamlessly like taken over their entire life and continues to do their job essentially, and may not even be aware that they are a clone. This is like a Philip K. Dick short story. It's like the protagonist is someone who's a clone of an original person, but isn't aware that they are the clone of a famous person who's been executed for terrible crimes, but they're still carrying on this rich person's life, and they're not aware of it. But then they end up doing all the same crimes that got the original celebrity executed in the first place, and it's sort of like a, it's a very sort of pink light idea that I very much like.
I mean, it's essentially reality for like a quarter of the population. I want to live there. It sounds like it's a lot more fun than fucking watching Ridley Scott put out some more robot bullshit.
Well, I'll tell you what's also, I guess it's in the news, but it's also not fun for the most part. I guess the big story this week is the New York Times big dump about Trump's taxes. We finally got them, and I still don't understand how taxes work, so I'm hoping one of you guys could explain them to me.
I have Felix do my taxes.
Yeah, and let's just say you are just crushing the deductibles in Malta. We still haven't gotten to paying your American taxes yet, but you're now a Maltese citizen.
I pay taxes in every single country, in all 173 countries. Because I'm a patriot.
I leave a tip on my
You're
taxes.
a global citizen. Yeah.
I tip the government 20% of the amount I already owed. That's for good service.
But yeah, I mean, I figure, apparently he hasn't paid any income tax in like 10 or 20 years or something like that. And I don't know. I mean, we're billionaires too. So Felix does all of our taxes. He is our tax expert. I mean, what are you doing to make sure that we're also, we were both not paying any income tax, have hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, but simultaneously have access to $100 million like line of credit at like Deutsche Bank or something like that.
So as you guys know, I've pursued an aggressive debt-rich spending style for us, right? So actually, just this last year, I took out $37 billion in loans from Deutsche Bank. Unfortunately, the original loan officer committed suicide by falling into his bathtub that was filled with acid, and also being shot in the stomach, suicidal style. I had previously sent him the Logic song about not killing yourself, but it unfortunately didn't work. But I did the best I could, washing my hands of that situation. Our $20 billion of those loans are due next year, but that's not a problem though, because I've also borrowed $100 billion from the Qatari royal family. We briefly owned the Mona Lisa on paper. I short sold it against the possibility of the Louvre being bombed by ETA, a reformed ETA. And if this happens in the next month, which, who's to say? If it didn't happen in the last 11 months, but it's like 1 to 12 odds, which is pretty good. We stand to make $150 billion. So that's $11 billion left over. But because we technically have $150 billion of losses and loans and liabilities, the government actually gave us $751 this year.
Hell yes. Suck it, Trump.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is it is legal for us to be killed by sword in Qatar. But as long as we don't go to Qatar, that's very difficult to do. Don't go to the embassy.
Problem.
They can still do it to us there.
Oh shit! I was about to get my driver's license renewed there. I'm glad we worked that all out.
It's fine. I'm looking at loans from Brunei next quarter, and that will repay the Qatari loans, and then we can go back to I know how much we like hanging out at that embassy, so we'll be able to soon.
See, what people don't understand about Chapo Trap House is that as a podcast, we lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Yes.
That's just how this business works, okay? You listening to this, you don't understand. That's how this business works. And as a consequence of us losing all of this money, the government steps in and gives us checks for hundreds of millions of dollars every year. That's called a refund.
Yeah. We are what's called, in the financial business, we're technically a bank, to fail to fail.
And that is how Donald Trump made his money. That's just how this works, okay? I don't have time to explain this.
Do you think anyone listens to this shit besides you, the one person we've been talking to for 4 years? No.
It's not our job to educate you. It's not Donald Trump's job to educate you.
I did the New York Times, as a supplement to their reporting, they had this cool sort of one of those news articles you read where as you scroll, the graphics change, and it's sort of it's vibes. But you're sort of looking at you're looking at graphs about from year to year, where his income comes from, and then you scroll down and you realize beneath the certain axis of graph and sort of peaks and valleys that show his money, underneath it is almost like perfectly reflected, almost like a placid surface of water, is exactly that amount of money in debts and liabilities. And I mean, I guess I know it's not like this for every like individual rich person, but isn't this a pretty good portrayal of how like most corporations operate? It's just like everything is perfectly balanced between money coming in and money you've borrowed or owe. But so it just remains like a sort of a perfect stasis at all times. So you technically you have $0, but you have unlimited credit all the time.
Yep, it's awesome.
He's like kind of unusual in this respect. Like the amount of personal debt he has is sort of insane, even in the family of billionaires. Like a lot of, if you read some stuff about like Deutsche Bank, they just kept lending him money in the 80s because they thought he was cool or whatever. But like,
right.
But it is like, for rich guys generally, it is a popular practice to use debt as a way to get out of taxes. I mean, like there are other vehicles too. Like rich guys like using art for this purpose. They like using a lot of other things. I think Trump is unusual because his income streams are like kind of a mystery if you compare him to like, you know, a hedge fund guy of a similar financial profile. Yeah. But it is, I mean, this is the system that Democrats and Republicans built, and he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean that is the funny thing about this, because it's like, I mean, yeah, I think it is newsworthy. Like, I don't really care to speculate on, you know, whether this will cost him in the election. I mean, like,
maybe, who knows?
To say it might not. Like, who knows? But I think it is just basically an interesting portrait of basically how wealth and the tax code functions in this country, where it's just like, oh, like once you pass like a certain income level, like if you pay any income tax at all, you're a sucker. And like the everyone, like conservatives love to complain about how complicated the tax code is, but it's written that way by tax lobbyists and lawyers to create like essentially a indecipherable morass that allows them to shelter vast sums of income.
The more money you make, generally, the more ways that the government gives you ways to get out of paying for it.
I just saw something again on the New York Times that was like a map of IRS audits, and like the most audited part of the country are like the poorest parts of Mississippi and Alabama.
Of course.
And not like, let's first say Manhattan, for instance, which is seems pretty perverse. But I mean, again, like I guess the defense of Trump is that this is just what every rich person does. And I think if you remember back in 2016, he admitted during one of the debates, like, of course I don't pay any taxes. It's because I'm very smart. I'm a big businessman. Yeah. And, you know, like, and lo and behold, that turned out to be exactly true. I mean, he was being honest about that. But, you know, for the most part, people hate paying taxes. And you know, like they view their tax burden as onerous and probably too much. And in most cases, that's probably true, unless you're a fucking, you know, a mega millionaire, billionaire.
Well, Trump is very rich because he spent his entire life telling people that he's very rich.
Yes.
That's really at the root of all of this. He's never, I mean, not that this is important by any means, but he's probably never been an actual billionaire when you count up all of his liabilities. He's probably been in the red for most of his adult life. He didn't inherit $1 billion from his father, but he didn't inherit, I don't know, like a substantial amount of properties.
If he just put that shit in a fucking index fund, he would have had actual billions of dollars.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely. But instead, he leveraged that and, you know, received these you know, preposterous lines of credit in the 1980s, and, you know, probably did some shady Michael Milken shit.
I mean, he is the perfect, whether he is or not technically a billionaire, he is the perfect American billionaire because he's a billionaire off the virtue of branding. That's the first billionaire in American history, John D. Rockefeller. Just like he was the perfect avatar of his time because he had this bullshit like religious folksy image, but in practice was just an awful fucking villain of a man, just a completely heartless monopolist and a genius at what he did. He was the perfect avatar of America during that time, about over 100 years ago. Trump is the perfect avatar of this time because it's like, well, how much does he make from charging rents? How much does he make from selling buildings? How much does he make from developing? I don't know. I do know one of his income streams. It's from being on TV. Everything else is a fucking mystery. And then he's just a fucking billionaire because you tell me he's a billionaire because he hired some guy that he probably ended up stiffing, whose job it is to call Forbes and be like, yeah, he's a billionaire.
It honestly seems like he made way more money just from hosting a TV show than in any of his fucking other real estate business ventures, which have all been total fucking disasters.
Yeah.
But that he owes so much money, and there's so much incentive in making sure that it is never recovered, is that his name is too valuable to ever be truly brought to account. And so it also becomes a great cover for essentially just fucking money laundering, like just straight ass money laundering, which is where a lot of his money that he's borrowing now that comes in related to the real estate shit is.
Somewhere along the line, Trump realized, or an accountant explained to him that actually, if your businesses lose a shitload of money, then you'll just get that money back from the government. You can continue to live it up and build your personal brand.
Well, when stuff like this happens, and conservatives are like, yeah, see, the fact that he got out of paying that money shows that he should be running our economy. Or 4 years before, the famous American line, we need a businessman to run the government.
Yes,
Trump's the perfect businessman to run this stage of American empire because he doesn't make anything. He doesn't generate that much revenue. He's not good at he can't really do anything, but it's worth a lot because he says so. That's this stage of empire. The
U.S. dollar is dominant because it's America's money.
Yeah.
And that's just because like in the fiat era, money is backed by like a promise of some sort of state structure. And we have the one. We have the big one. We have the Trump of countries.
This is
and that keeps the brand going.
This is a country that can not really build bridges that last more than a decade. We had a shortage of just sanitary wipes. I think even still, we're just any adversity that happens to us, just done. Roll over. It's done. Just stay inside for 6 months. It's not gonna. Just wait for it to blow over. This is our guy. This is the business of America.
Another cool feature that was in the New York Times article about him, about like a little accounting trick that I think we can also employ, is that Trump and his family members within the Trump business, like corporations, all pay each other as consultants. And like the consulting fee gets tacked onto money that you're paying to employees, which is like not taxable. It doesn't count as income, but you're paying yourself because you consulted on like cutting the ribbon at a golf course or something, and you got $700,000 for that.
That's how the DOD works. That's literally how the tip of the spear of empire works. You're a general for X number of years. You leave and you make 100 times your salary being a consultant for the war that you were never close to winning. But the point of it was never to win the war; it was to spend money.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what am I supposed to be mad about right now? That's kind of what all of this boils down to. Like I'm supposed to be paying attention and mad and posting in a certain fashion. So what am I supposed to be mad about? Having come back to the world of posting, having re-enlisted. After crashing my fucking Camaro,
it depends on which group you are, though. Like there are different things you're supposed to be mad on depending on certain posting tribes. The libs, if you're a lib, you're supposed to be mad that he's pretending to be rich. That's the worst thing a rich person could do is lie about how much money he has.
It's gauche
and reveal himself to be a mere peasant. That's they're mad about. And then there's the Trump specific thing you're supposed to be mad about, which is that he gamed the system. And that he exploited it for his own benefit, and that he's essentially a predator. And then, of course, there's the thing that like the left is telling everyone is what you're supposed to care about, which is actually this is all systemic, and he's only doing what the system allows him to do. So those are like your opinions that you can have. You can choose from that at the opinion buffet.
Virgil, I did appreciate your interaction with a fellow where you were sort of similarly asking this question, and the guy was like, I think you'll find that, yes, he's playing by the rules that were made for people like him, but he also broke them. And you were like, well, what penalties does he face for breaking those rules? And they were like, well, apparently none as of yet. And you're like, well, in that case, they're not really rules. They're just sort of like they're like sort of an honor system for how to pay your taxes.
Yeah, Trump's not getting Wesley sniped.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here? What, is he going to prison? No, he's not going to prison. He might have to pay. He might get a tax lien that he's never going to pay. The government might say, "Oh, you got to pay back that $100 million." Like, no.
Donald Trump's getting a tax lien, and you know who's repossessing his property at 1600 Pennsylvania? Joe Biden, the greatest collector in America. Let's go, baby.
I'll tell you what though. This is another related news story today. It's because regardless of how it turns out, it's really hard for me to imagine like the bill will ever come due to Donald Trump, either like an actual bill of money he has to pay people that he owes, because he's spent most of his career just not paying people that he's contracted to do work, and you can extend that to not paying his taxes, but or like any criminal liability for his various frauds and swindles and just generally crooked behavior. I will notice though that everyone who pledges fealty to Trump and is is just dedicates themselves to helping him in any way, their lives get super fucked up. And I'm talking our boy Brad Parscale. He's going through it right now. I did a wellness check on him last night, but
oh my God, I would give anything to have seen the cop side of that, because it's like, imagine, we love you, brother. You're a fucking rock star. You're fucking all... Yo, we're bringing in a Navy SEAL who was given a suspended sentence for killing 33 children and almost contemplated suicide. You're a fucking rock star. We love you. Bro, you have your shirt off. You're looking fucking good. You look strong. Like, that's the one suicidal guy that they've never wanted to kill.
Yeah, well, they did tackle him, but he had a beer, he was...
That was boys.
He was chilling, and I'm just saying, like... you're Brad, if you're out there, like, please stay strong, listen to that Logic song.
Yeah.
And apparently, I mean, he may be pondering, topping himself, because, like, he may get indicted for, like, laundering hundreds of millions of dollars for the Trump organization and through his campaign. But Trump himself, or like maybe like his family, like, it's very hard for me to imagine them ever facing any consequences for any of this. But like, if you're outside the family and you're one of those guys who became psychotically dedicated to Trump, like, either he's going to betray you or you're going to end up in ADX Florence, probably.
Or, I mean, you could be like Paul Manafort, who seems to be operating under the Italian criminal justice system, where they technically sentence you to like 8 years, and they're like, all right, you got a cold, you can go home.
Yeah, but I mean, they also get redeemed though at some point, because they all get a book. They all get a book deal. Like Michael Cohen is a best-selling book.
Yeah.
Fellow best-selling author Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
None of these people can ever be brought to account because the system is designed to keep them churning through it and keeping them from any consequence. Because if one of them gets consequences, they all could.
Yeah.
So everybody has to stay in the club.
Do you remember this part of the Mueller probe where he dug even like he hit about an inch of dirt, and then immediately they had to arrest John Podesta's brother?
Yes.
It's like no, you can't do any digging. You can't do. There's just like you the only guys you could actually convict are the guys like Manafort, who just like get on a phone and are like, "Hi, do you want to commit an international crime?" Like, just guys that fucking blatant. But for most of them, it's like, yeah, you can't send Brad Parscale to prison any more than you can send, like, I don't know, Christina Pelosi. Like, one goes down, they all go down. I mean, right. There are people love ruminating about Kushner going to prison, and it's like, I get it. It would be awesome, but it's like, that's not going to happen to him. You send Kushner to prison, you have to sell Chelsea Clinton's fucking fail hedge fund manager husband, who also traded off of inside info. All these people are the same asshole.
The only hope, honestly, to see any justice for the Trumps out of office is if Biden wins in a liberal coup type situation and does a coup on them all. And has them all like and suspends politics, because the political system requires these people to always be above any real consequence for their action, and that goes across party lines. And as soon as it's violated, then you are going to tip off of the axis of politics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah exactly. Because I mean, like, I love seeing like the Lincoln Project is, of course, loving this tax news, and they're like, oh, they're playing it up. They got so many fire memes in the pipeline, but like. These are all being created by guys who have spent their entire life, their entire adult lives and career, making it so that people like Donald Trump can do exactly this and get away with it. Mm-hmm. And then also they're actual war criminals themselves who like were also not held accountable when they left power in any way whatsoever. Like David Frum was tweeting the other day about how like Yom Kippur is a time for judgment and atonement. And I'm like, like, I mean, how do you fucking get up the balls to write that about someone else who's been avoiding taxes when you just like helped kill 1 million people?
I really like Matt's hypothetical of a liberal Ergonkin. Like, that would be awesome. Like a trial against the Trump part of the deep state conducted by Biden and like the only prosecutor he can trust, like some 90-year-old from Delaware. Just sending all these guys to the ADX Florence.
It's the Joint Chiefs of Staff for the West Wing, the John Amos guy.
Yeah. I love Biden Erdogan. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to do that. Yeah. There's going to be a fucking day of the rope for all the Republicans.
Yeah, the liberal sledgehammer trial presided over by Deborah Messing. So awesome.
I don't know if you flagged this one. Nick Kristof wrote a thing in the Times saying the way to take down Trump is to laugh at him. And it's so weird. We're 5 weeks from the election. It's so weird to be hearing takes like that. That's a very 2017, like first year Trump in office kind of take.
Yeah.
That's like a 2015 take. That's like hey, listen, guys, we know he's not going to win Iowa, but just in case you're scared, there's this guy, John Oliver. We'll make sure that you never have to deal with him. That is, man.
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh,
I saw Mehdi Hassan saying, like, Joe Biden should take the debate because, the media hasn't done it over the last 4 years. So Joe Biden should take every opportunity at the debate to call out Donald Trump's lies, call him a liar to his face, and then say, like, have you no decency, sir? He literally added, have you no shame, sir? And it was just like, boom, done. I mean, yeah,
who is the
showing
debate
a lot
for?
of confidence right now.
Who is the debate for? I mean, who's the target? I mean, I guess it depends on which candidate you are.
I think this is actually a potentially consequential debate because I think that one of the things underlying Biden's, he has a decent and a relatively stable lead and you could say, that's true of Hillary, but he's actually in a better position than Hillary was in 2016.
Right now, yeah.
And the softness of that, one of the huge reasons is that the Democrats are offering nothing as terms of a campaign of any sort of agenda beyond just not being Trump, which appeals to their base. But beyond that, I don't know if it's enough to inspire, the kind of lead that you would expect to have running against the president presiding over these fucking conditions. But the other thing is, I think a lot of people do wonder if he's got the marbles. I mean, he has been spending the summer in like semi-seclusion, and they just bring him out like fucking Weekend at Bernie's. And I think there are people on the fence who are going to want to watch and see if he can, if he's got it, and reassure themselves that he is not a zombie.
But do these people? I mean, honestly, I'm trying to imagine. I know people have all kinds of crazy heuristics for voting, but it's a really substantial amount of people who are like, I don't know, I would vote for Biden, but he seems senile.
Yeah, because people are people. You know how many people say stuff like, I vote for the man, not the party, or whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
People actually do treat presidents like their individual character and like resume and shit matters. Because they're a narrative, they are a protagonist. Like, you're basically auditioning them to be the protagonist of America for the next 4 years. So you are using personal traits to evaluate them because that's what you're trying to look for. And the ability to, count to 10 and draw a clock is part of that.
Well, I mean, I just like the idea that, Chris Wallace, who's moderating the first debate, has already said he's not going to perform the role of fact checker. And I just like this idea that, if only in under the national gaze with no safety net, like an objective third party could just call out Donald Trump's lies and just say that was a lie.
Yeah,
it would matter. I mean, because Joe Biden lies all the fucking time. Remember his last debate with Bernie, where he was just like, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I didn't try to call it Social Security. And Bernie was like, you're lying, and it didn't matter at all. He got crushed.
I mean, that's why I think people are like, if he wins the debate in any way, it's going to be off the strength of his lying versus Trump, off of him, his more confident lying style, and Trump does the kind of lying where his base knows he's lying, but they like it because it's pissing off the other side. Biden does the type of lying where his base likes it because he's going through the work of attempting to sound honest.
Yes.
So
I think that's a very good way of putting it. That's like Trump supporters like him because he's lying, because he's getting away with it, and who he's getting it away against are people who are also liars who they hate. Whereas Biden's lies are like, actually, I think you'll find he represents the most progressive platform in American presidential history if you read his website.
Yeah, when Biden lies, the liberal response is, he's making the smart moves. He's pandering in the correct way. He's sounding very presidential.
Or he's just or he doesn't even, the thing about Biden and the Biden campaign is that he doesn't really even need to explicitly lie because there are so many fucking saps who will just do it for him and invent out of nothing this idea that he actually does represent a progressive vision or can be pushed to the left as he fills his transition team with Cindy McCain and Marge Schott, former owner of the Cincinnati Reds.
So let me ask a different question then. Are there people tuning into this debate because they want the information to make up their minds? Is that a substantial number of people saying, oh, well, there's election coming up, better find out what these two fellas are all about?
I have no fucking idea.
I have no clue.
None.
Yeah. It's just, it's that undecided voter thing at this stage in a presidential election. It just seems so impossible for me to ponder that you could still be making up your mind at this point, or would be looking to this debate as some sort of decisive factor. But I assume there are some people. I mean, I think it's just the debates are just sort of like it's going through the motions and pretending we live in a democracy.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it is like, well, this still matters because look, there's a presidential debate and they're talking about things and I'm watching it. So like there still is a political sphere in American life and I'm participating in it.
It's impossible to say, though. But speaking of living in a democracy, I guess the other really big story this week was Joseph Coney Barrett is going to be Donald Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And by all accounts, will almost certainly be, she will gain that seat. They will vote for her, and then she will be on the Supreme Court for probably the next 60 years. But yeah, I mean, where do you want to go with Coney 2020 Barrett here? I mean, it does seem incredibly bleak. I mean, because the idea that like the Supreme Court is going to be mega throttled by like an insane like right wing minority, not the majority on the court, but representing a astonishingly small number of people who, and again, no one's voted for any of these people, and they're going to basically throttle all law for the next 60, 70 years, most likely. I don't
know. I'm kind of taking a Zen approach to it because the way I kind of think of it, one way or another, her being on the Supreme Court and this new 6-3 majority isn't going to matter that much in the near future because either there will be some sort of meaningful political crisis caused by the now completely frozen gears of the government and this new dominant minority that is literally makes it impossible to govern, and that's going to would either cause the Supreme Court to lose its position as like the veto point, the final veto point for all legislation and programs, or if that doesn't happen and we're in a situation where that court is still there, we have other bigger problems,
Mm-hmm.
That's only gonna be a tertiary structural impediment to anyone not being turned into fucking dog food.
I guess just the thing I've been most fascinated with is it's the notorious RGB people and their inability to metabolize what happened, or that they can't admit or allow anyone to openly state what is obvious and irrefutable, that this is a situation we are in because of the rather selfish and irresponsible choice of Ruth Bader Ginsburg not to retire when she could have guaranteed that there would have been a liberal seated to replace her. And these forms of denial take a couple of really interesting avenues. And like the first of which is to pretend that it's just thoroughly impossible for Obama to get anyone on the Supreme Court because of what happened to Merrick Garland. Like forgetting the fact that like Mitch McConnell took over the Senate in 2014 and that he got already 2 of his choice justices on the Supreme Court in an up or down vote. So they're just pretending that would have been impossible. So to say that, just there's no way she could have retired and then just been replaced by someone who is, of a similar political point of view is one thing. And then the other thing is these people sort of like saying that like there's no way she could have known that Hillary Clinton would lose and that she would die, which is like, you don't have to be fucking the amazing Kreskin to just like, okay, yeah, all of us, myself included, thought there was no way Hillary Clinton was going to lose that election. But it's still a fucking gamble if you're in her point. If you're in her shoes, it's still a fucking gamble. And to be willing to make that gamble with the lives of like hundreds of millions of people so that you can still have fun on your job seems pretty monstrous.
Well, I mean,
but also this idea that like she didn't know she could die. She's in her 80s and already had cancer twice. It's a pretty fucking safe bet.
I want to be fair to her. Look at the last 30 years of her life. It's not like there were any Republican presidents during that time. They never won. From 1990 to 2020, basically no GOP presidents.
I don't know, Will. I mean, you know, when people retire, you know, they start to get weird. You know, they're like, you know, maybe sometimes they just start hanging around the office. You know, like, because that's all they know. That's all you know what to do. You know, it's hard to like just take up new hobbies in your twilight years. You know, I mean, I don't blame her. I mean, I would have stayed on. It's fun. You know, it's a fun. You get to hang out with
like fun. It seems
you get
fucking.
No, you
boring.
get to hang out with your friends. Like
Right, she was very good friends with
Antonin
Scalia.
Scalia and Samuel Alito. Your pals. You know, your crew, your gang, your entourage, whatever. You get to make the decisions that are not subject to the evaluation of anyone above you. Decisions, matters of life and death for millions of people.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, Virgil, is that like she liked the juice too much to give it up. And like,
it's cool.
Because
It's a
these
good- it's a
people are
good gig.
sickos.
It's a good
Because
gig.
these people are fucking sickos. They're empty. They're driven by this this will to power.
Okay, but
that's
here's
totally
the
divorced from any fucking political value system.
So you would have retired.
I wouldn't be on the
If you-
Supreme Court. Are you fucking kidding me? How would that ever happen?
Virgil, if I
If I was
realized
on the
what?
Supreme Court, I wouldn't be me. It's an absurd question.
I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll
Dream
answer the
big.
question.
Dream big, man. Thank you, Will.
I'll answer the question. Of course, I fucking
Justice
would have
will.
retired. Of course, I would fucking retire. And like knowing the system that we live under, where judges are appointed by the president and for life, and that like knowing full well that could either easily be another Republican
Okay,
president
well, then-
when I'm 85 years old. Do you think that like someone who actually cared about protecting civil rights, protecting women's rights, protecting the laws and precedent that she supposedly like represents the best of America? Do you think that it's someone who actually cared about the people who adored her would fucking take that big of a risk with their lives for
What
her
if you-
own
what if
personal
you-
fucking edification?
Well, what if you got replaced with Merrick Garland?
Well, I mean, that would suck. I mean,
First
yeah, that would-
of all, hold on a minute. Why would that have to be the case? It's not like the question of when she could have retired is obvious. Obama's first 2 years, because
Yeah.
Democrats control the Senate and the presidency. No matter what happened in the future, if it changed, it would be for the worse. You either lose the Senate or you lose the presidency. Either way, the quality of the fucking or the political reliability of the nominee is going to be lower. The best, it's the single best spot. Holding out is pointless. You're not holding out for anything. You're only holding out for the likelihood of a worse situation with a
Exactly.
worse nominee.
Exactly. Like the longer it goes on, like the greater the odds of something of this terrible situation happening. And it's just, once again, it's just another opportunity for everyone to relitigate 2016. Because like there are people saying, well, you know, this reflects really badly on Ruth Bader Ginsburg that she would do this, or like that she really should have done the responsible thing and retired when she had a chance. And then people are saying, oh, well, yeah, you didn't even vote for Hillary Clinton. And like that's the reason that this is happening. And it's just like, if you believe that, shouldn't you be madder at Hillary Clinton for losing?
Ultimately,
if you put all of your fucking hopes in like the one thing that this person could say that like actually had some truth to it is that like I'm the only thing that will stop, you know, the Opus Dei people of prayer takeover of the Supreme Court, and they didn't even do that. They didn't even care enough to fucking seat a nominee when they had the fucking chance.
Okay, so I mean, the point that I'm driving at is, for any of this to make sense, like any individual justice, Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have to have a fealty to in a greater ideological project, and would be able to coordinate with the other institutions, the other actors in this project. And I don't believe that the Democratic coalition, you know, either in 2014 or 2009 or whatever, represented a coherent and coordinated ideological project. Like that's
You're
not
absolutely
to
right.
the
Yeah, no,
degree
you're
that
correct.
the right wing has.
Yeah. No, the
What
right
is
wing
that? I don't understand that.
The
though.
right wing
Wait a minute, no.
understand.
I don't understand what difference that makes, though.
Because
That doesn't change that doesn't change her incentive to drop out in the one period of time after she'd gotten a fucking cancer diagnosis
because
to pull the ripcord. There was never going to be a better time.
Because, well, okay, I've been looking into a lot. Like, no, yeah, you're right that there would be no better time, and that it made no sense in any logical evaluation what she actually did. But I've been reading a lot of liberal defenses of her. I think they're very interesting. They're very revealing. You have the one side that says she needed to show Sotomayor and Kagan what to do, like they were Sims. Like if you lock the door, they would starve to death. Like, oh no, if RBG isn't around, Elena Kagan's gonna walk into an empty pool and fucking she won't be able to get out because Justice Roberts took out the fucking ladder. But it's
Kagan and Sotomayor just like they're taking LSD for the first time and they need a sitter.
And that's the farthest end of liberal delusion. That's just insanity, right? Don't even take it seriously. That's someone who's insane. They're never coming back. Go figure. It's very popular. But then you have the other end, and this one was very interesting to me. This is what I was going to say earlier. I guess it was so boring that I forgot in the second. But it was someone who said, and I admired this because it was more honest than these other defenses. Oh, come on. Like, you've never made a decision that you wanted to make for good reasons that ended up hurting people. And why did she make that decision? Because she wanted to inspire women by having her replacement picked by a woman. And no, that's idiotic. It's completely callous in the face of the suffering that her replacement is going to cause. It's playing a very high-stakes game with a relatively low payout, depending on how you look at things. But knowing what we know about these people, could you not just see that being the reason she figured, let's roll the dice? I can't die, can I?
Yeah. No.
What if perversely all the notorious RBG lionizing of her bullshit, what if that, puffed her up to the degree that she's like, well, I should stay on the court because I'm clearly inspiring all these people. Like, I can't just quit. I'm their hero.
I'm gonna take.
No, hold on. I disagree with that because I don't think you need a bunch of mid-tier Jezebel writers to make a federal judge pompous. I think that's you already got. I think she also. I think she purely resented those people. Like, let's be honest.
Really?
I agree with Felix. I think
about
to the extent that she was aware of.
Yeah, hold on. What do you think she felt about being compared to a black rapper? Think about it.
Yeah, right. I like to imagine. I'm not a Supreme Court watcher, but I like to imagine that in all of her all of the opinions that she's been authoring, there have just been like little footnotes, just alluding to the notorious RBG stuff and kind of subtly trying to say, "Hey, please knock this shit off." Yeah. It's really dispiriting to me.
I know. I agree with Felix. Like, to the extent that she was aware of it at all, I think it probably deeply pissed her off. Mm-hmm. I think she thought of it probably as disrespectful. But like, as to her legions of adoring fans who made her into this pop cultural symbol, I mean, her own actions give the truth of how she really felt about these people, which are overwhelmingly young women. Which is that she doesn't give a fuck about them.
Yep.
If she did, she would have behaved responsibly, or she would have understood, or like what the right does, that they're part of a broader ideological project that is playing a long game to like change the law and culture of the United States. Which means that when it's your time, that you bow out and make sure that the president who is in your corner fills the seat that you leave open. Right. I mean, like, the right doesn't fuck around with that. Like, I mean, they got stung once or twice with like Souter or a few of the other like
Souter.
Yeah, like that or fucking Rehnquist or whatever. Like, I mean, they've got stung by Supreme Court justices that they've nominated and hadn't turned out the right way. Like, what's her name? When Bush nominated his like family lawyer to the Supreme Court, Harriet Miers, and like they sunk that immediately, not because she was ludicrously unqualified, but because she wasn't a fucking known quantity. She wasn't a sure thing. And they scrapped that, and they got the fucking person that they knew was going to be like the 100% down the line Federalist Society, like turn back the clock in America to the 1840s person. Like, that's what they're going for. And, like you said, I think you're exactly right. I don't think the liberals on the court or liberals anywhere in this country have any such notion that they're involved in a larger political project. And like, I think the evidence of that is that, like, what do they like about Ruth Bader Ginsburg? It's that she achieved individually and got to the highest thing, and it's not just what the laws she passed or like laws that she stopped from passing. It's that she's there and achieved, and that's why she can stay there until she's 90 fucking years old.
Okay, what is the thing? Why did they call her Notorious RBG? Did they call her that because she overturned things in a notorious way? Did they call her that because she set a bunch of amazing precedents? Because she swayed the court? No, it was her dissents. It's that she lost in style. Isn't that amazing? I want you, just a little experiment that I'm personally doing. I've done it for a while. I follow someone, I'm not going to name him. He's from McConnell's team. He's not like a big Trump guy, but he's an operator. And he knows what he's after. You can find someone similar out there. You can figure it out. Then follow somebody on the Democrat side of things. Follow somebody from Schumer's team, ex officio, wherever, fucking McCaskill, whatever. Who gives a shit? One of those losers. Someone who is high up. A Chapo regime in the Democrat mafia. Compare what you get there. You get somebody. I get this guy I follow from Team McConnell. Very interesting. He never fucking shuts up about appellate court appointees, about recess appointments. He's got his eye on the fucking prize. He's a very the world is a zero-sum place kind of guy. He's very ice in his veins, but he's after one thing, and that's even when the game is over numerically, which it kind of already is. It's preserving this rule and preserving these laws, the ones that the donors are paying for, the thing that will make him rich when he's an old man. You go to the Democrat side, what do you see? Let's normalize masks. Let's normalize masks. Let's normalize masks. Or look at Kamala wearing the shoes. Oh, what if we appointed Michelle Obama to fucking ambassador to the UK? Just grab back all over the place. Cultural signifiers. They don't give a shit about any type of permanent rule or planting their flag anywhere. They have the culture. That's where they're going to plant their flag, and go figure with these fucking losers, they'll probably lose that too.
And forever, what they're really talking about is something like Roe v. Wade, will the legal right to an abortion be overturned in large parts of the country? I mean, it functionally has already been overturned in large parts of the country through eating away through regulations that they don't really need to overturn it on a state level. It's just there's just one abortion clinic for that serves 100 million people in large swaths of this country. But they don't care because they know for them, their personal rights and privileges are going to be pretty much well preserved, and that all the other hard right-wing decisions that this court is going to hand down. There was a good article the other day about how basically it's just one of the Koch brothers got Kavanaugh across the finish line, and they're going to do the same for Amy Coney Barrett, because what they want to do is create a pre-New Deal sort of Gilded Age regime of labor rights and the untrammeled access of money equaling power in our system of government. Do you think any of these people working for Chuck Schumer give a fuck about that?
No.
They're the beneficiaries of the exact same thing that they're going to do.
There are two payoff systems for people leaving high staffer positions or even just elected office in politics. One lane is lobbyist. You'll work about fucking 20 hours a week and you'll be a fucking millionaire. That is a very common path. I'd say almost every Republican takes that path, and a lot of Democrats. But there is one lane that only exists for Democrats, and that is the path of entertainment. You write some fucking abominable script about a president who goes on OkCupid. Or, you consult for some dog shit show. And you get in that position not by winning. Because these lobbyist positions, the Republicans give them out to winners. Guys who, even if they lost their election, they put a fucking 24-year-old with an associate's degree on the bench. He's going to rule there for the next 100 years. The Democrats give that to their losers. Here, you lost valiantly. Here, take some of David Geffen's pocket change to write some fucking awful bullshit. We'll also make you a millionaire. But not because we give a shit about how you affected anyone's lives or any victory for our ideological point of view. It's because we celebrate someone who lost in style like you did. We know that you're a good person. That's all that counts. Republicans don't do that.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with something like, legal abortion or Roe v. Wade, because there's nothing I will put past them, but I think the smarter apparatchiks in the pro-life movement understand that they don't really need to overturn Roe v. Wade to get most of what they want. And if they did overturn Roe v. Wade, it could provoke something that would lead to an actual political backlash, because abortion is one of those issues in America that people understand or have an opinion about in a way that's not vague. It's not ill-defined, or they don't quite know what to believe, or if they could live with it, they could just sort of live with it either way. It's a very either-or issue that people feel very strongly about. But if they do overturn Roe v. Wade, you think that would dispense with the one thing that the Democrats have over you if you're not a right-wing person, is that we're the party that's going to defend legal abortion in America. But I think like the perverse way that this system works is such that like the more power that they cede to Republicans, the more right wing the country gets, despite like it being a vanishingly small group of people in terms of the overall population who wants or believes in any of these things. Like the more purely minoritarian and authoritarian our government gets, the more dire the need to vote for Democrats over all else becomes. So it's like, it really is, they got you totally straitjacketed by this. They got you coming and going here because it's just like the worse the Republicans get, the worse the Democrats are free to be because they're still not the Republicans. And like the more dire the need to vote for them above all else becomes. Like it's always now is not the time. You know, we just need to defeat this X threat in front of us because it represents, you know, such a grotesque abrogation of our rights and our rights as a democratic citizens in a 21st century country.
Well, to bring it full circle, the Democrats have done the political version of Donald Trump's financial maneuverings. They're doing the political version of you owe somebody $1,000, you've got a problem. You owe somebody $1 billion, they've got a problem. You lose so fucking much and so fucking bad, even when you win, that things get so dire and the stakes become so high that you turn to your voters who rightfully don't give a shit about you and go, what the fuck? You're not going to vote for me in the most important election ever? Why is it the most important election ever? What did you do to get us to that point?
Yeah, it keeps just getting worse and worse.
It's getting good. It's getting
you're not believing in them.
Running Joe Biden is the political equivalent of paying $750 in taxes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like they and now facing down the fucking barrel of, like I said, like probably as long as we're alive at the Supreme Court, barring some extraordinary. I mean, the Democrats have already said that they're not going to do anything about this, right? They couldn't even pretend for a day that they were going to do anything.
They have explicitly said we are not going to do it. We're not going to stop it. We're not going to try to stop the nomination. We're not going to vote. We're going to vote against it, and that's it. And yeah, we're not going to back the court. We're not going to declare Marbury v. Madison to be invalid. We're not going to eliminate judicial review. We're not going to do anything. So
just
it's going to be
not
going to do anything.
A far-right Supreme Court, no matter what the election outcome is.
You got to vote.
Yeah.
Or else what? The court gets worse?
Vote.
It becomes a 7-2 court? I don't
I mean, I guess at this point they have to switch from defending it to attacking it, and now we're going to get it back. That's just how you flip it. Now we got to get it back. We lost it. Now we get it back.
The court is...
Thomas could die.
The court is lost until the unlikely hero, President J.B. Pritzker, the captain of the Third American Republic, brings us to 78 Supreme Court seats, and they're all formerly disbarred Cook County attorneys. Let's go.
But what I mean is like, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't care if your rights are going to be taken away from you by this like revanchist right-wing minority. They simply don't give a fuck. If they did give a fuck at all, they would behave differently. They would try to win. They would try to do anything about it. And it's the people who defend them the most are still the ones who are like, the people at fault here are those that have lost faith in the Democratic Party by not voting for Clinton or simply just being critical of her when she was our presidential nominee. And it's just always going to be the case of them. They're never at fucking fault here. And it's you know what? It's just if you're angry about the situation that you find yourselves in now as a Democrat, we sent you a boat in 2016 and a fucking helicopter in 2020, and you didn't fucking want it. Enjoy drowning with the rest of us. Like that's the allegory that I keep going for here. It's just like any possible a different path that's offered to them, they shit all over it. And the same group of voters that they regard as apparently decisive in every presidential election, well, okay, if they're that important that like the Jill Stein voters are why Donald Trump is president, well then shouldn't you try to like offer them something or get their vote if you need it that badly? Nope, not going to do that. Just keep voting for us. Just keep fucking voting for us. It's going to be a 9-1 Supreme Court eventually. But, like that one, like, the one person that we have on there is just all the more reason we need to support them.
I like the idea that it's 9-1 because it's all 9 conservatives.
Sorry.
No. I like 9-1 better because in the future it's all 9 conservative justices and then the Democratic president wins the vow to pack the court and adds a single seat.
I have no interest in dissuading people from voting for Biden. I think it's a fruitless argument. I think it's a fruitless argument because, like I said, when it became clear he was going to win the nomination. It's out of our hands. Most of the people you see arguing about it too, it's out of their hands too. You think any of the people that are going to decide this election know who we are or give a fuck about us?
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about you,
chance.
me, anyone we fucking know. Do you think they're reading fucking New York Magazine? No, they don't give a shit. We're all a bunch of fucking losers to them. They don't fucking care. They're going to vote on their own metric, which is an impossible to penetrate equation for us. But
and that's why it's hilarious how 90% of the shit on the internet now from people, even people who will tell you things don't matter, is saying what the people will think of X, Y, and Z. You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
No one knows.
These are people who don't know you, don't give a fuck about you. Look, the Biden campaign, they took it. They're the FBI going onto the crime scene saying this is our jurisdiction. It's their jurisdiction now. Don't waste your fucking time every day arguing over fucking harm reduction versus blah, blah, blah. It's fruitless. It's fruitless because you're not even going to remember doing this.
Yeah. It's just passing time.
It's up to the Biden campaign whether they win or not. They'll figure it out. It's up to the Trump
passing
campaign.
time and trying to cope
guess
with
what?
their powerlessness.
And guess what? The argument about how, hey, look, at the end of the day, you may not like Hillary Clinton, but the next president could get 2 or even 3 nominees on the Supreme Court. That was an argument you could have made in 2016. Can't make it now. That ship has sailed. Forget about it.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to all competitors. If this was a drag race, I would love to be the girl who brings the flags down.
I'd love to be wearing a Von Dutch hat and like jean cutoffs, and then just sort of drop that bandana.
Ooh. I want to be the person who feeds the driver in the pit crew. I want that to be my job. Squirting water in the driver's mouth, maybe putting like a little grape in there.
Well, I think one thing that, should be noted, and that I think maybe both sides can even agree on, Kobe Bryant Barrett, kind of fire with it, though.
Actually, yeah.
Kind of fire with it.
She's a MILF, yeah.
I don't know.
Come on.
Oh, come on, Virgil. Come on.
I don't know. I'm playing my cards close to the chest,
Oh, right.
I mean,
I'm not telling you how I'm voting right now.
I think you could stipulate she would be the hottest Supreme Court justice if she got on there.
I'm going to Joe Manchin this one.
Well, there you go. Do you want to leave it there for today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was news.
Well, debate tomorrow night. And
Woohoo!
then,
Hell yeah,
let's
buddy.
go, baby.
I'm so excited. Happy birthday to me.
debate tomorrow night, and then we'll be breaking down all of the homie rule later in the week. As soon as Showtime lets me fucking watch it.
Yeah, it's good that one's paywalled because that'll be a good episode.